You don't suffer because life is cruel. You suffer because you expect it to be fair. 2,000 years ago, Seneca warned that people would grow mentally weaker as life became easier. He predicted a world obsessed with comfort, validation, and distraction, and a generation unable to endure silence, loss, or uncertainty. This is not a video to make you feel better. It's a video to make you harder to break. Welcome to Stoic Gateway. Most people read Seneca looking for relief. That is their first mistake. Seneca was not trying to make you comfortable. He was trying to make you independent of comfort. He lived in a world where exile could happen overnight, where wealth could vanish in a single decree, where death was never theoretical. And because of that, Seneca understood something modern people rarely face, that stability is an illusion, and any philosophy built on stability will collapse the moment life turns hostile. Seneca's Stoicism begins with a brutal premise: nothing external belongs to you. Not your money, not your reputation, and not your health, not even the people you love. Modern society finds this idea disturbing because it contradicts how we are trained to live. We are taught to attach, to accumulate, to identify ourselves with roles, possessions, and validation. Seneca saw this as the root of suffering. He believed that the more tightly you cling to what can be taken, the more fragile your inner world becomes. This is why Seneca constantly warned against emotional dependency on outcomes. He did not say you should not care. He said you should not need. There is a difference modern people fail to grasp. You can love deeply without being destroyed by loss. You can pursue success without allowing failure to define you. You can enjoy pleasure without becoming enslaved by it. Seneca believed mastery begins where attachment ends. At the center of Seneca's philosophy is a terrifying idea. You are responsible for your inner state. Not society, not your past, not your trauma, and not other people's behavior. This does not mean Seneca ignored suffering. He understood pain intimately, but he made a sharp distinction between pain and despair. Pain happens to everyone. Despair is optional. Despair to Seneca is the moment you mentally surrender to what happens to you. This is why he focused so intensely on perception. Seneca taught that events themselves are neutral. It is the judgment you attach to them that creates suffering. Insult only wounds you if you agree with it. Loss only destroys you if you believe you cannot live without what was lost. Misfortune only becomes unbearable when you tell yourself it should not have happened. This is not denial. It is mental discipline. Modern people confuse Stoicism with emotional suppression, but Seneca taught the opposite. He believed emotions should be observed, not obeyed. Anger, fear, envy, grief, these are signals, not commands. The mistake is allowing them to dictate action. Seneca described anger as the most dangerous emotion because it masquerades as strength. It feels decisive, it feels justified. But he warned that anger always punishes the one who carries it. In modern language, anger is emotional hijacking. It hands control of your nervous system to someone else. To Seneca, self-control was the highest form of power, not control over others. Control over impulses. This is why Seneca placed such importance on daily mental training. He believed the mind must be conditioned just like the body. If you never train restraint, you will panic when restraint is required. If you never practice loss, you will collapse when loss arrives. If you never rehearse adversity, you will experience it as trauma rather than challenge. One of Seneca's most misunderstood practices is negative visualization. He encouraged imagining loss not to create fear, but to remove surprise. He believed much of suffering comes from shock. When people believe life should always go smoothly, hardship feels like injustice. Seneca trained the mind to expect disruption so that when it comes, it is met with steadiness rather than collapse. This is deeply relevant today. Modern people are psychologically unprepared for hardship because they are trained to expect constant progress, comfort, and reassurance. Seneca would say this expectation itself is the danger. A mind that expects ease becomes brittle. A mind that expects difficulty becomes resilient. Seneca also had a radical view of success. He believed that chasing status without inner development creates hollow victories. You may win admiration and still hate yourself. You may achieve wealth and still feel poor inside. Seneca warned that external success without internal order leads to anxiety, paranoia, and emptiness. This is why so many people who have it all feel nothing. True wealth to Seneca was sufficiency, enough food, enough shelter, enough meaning. Everything beyond that is optional, and optional things should never be allowed to dominate your peace. He believed that when people base their identity on excess, they live in constant fear of losing it. Another core Senecan teaching is his obsession with time. He believed time is the only true possession, and even that is borrowed. Seneca was ruthless about wasted time. He saw distraction not as harmless entertainment, but as quiet self-destruction. Every hour given to meaningless activity is an hour stolen from your potential. Seneca would look at modern life, constant stimulation, endless scrolling, perpetual noise, and recognize it immediately as a system designed to keep people unconscious of their own mortality. Because once you truly feel the scarcity of time, you stop living carelessly. This is why Seneca urged living each day as a complete life, not in reckless pleasure, but in integrity. He believed you should be able to look at any day and say, if this were my last, I did not betray myself. That standard alone would radically change how most people live. Seneca was also brutally honest about society. He warned that most people adopt values without examination. They chase what others chase, fear what others fear, and call it normal. Seneca believed wisdom requires separation, not physical isolation, but mental independence. You must decide for yourself what matters, or the crowd will decide for you. In the modern world, this warning is more urgent than ever. Every screen competes for your attention. Every platform rewards outrage, insecurity, and comparison. Seneca would say that an undisciplined mind in such an environment will never know peace, not because peace is impossible, but because it is constantly being sold something else. At its deepest level, Seneca's philosophy is about inner sovereignty, to be calm when praised or blamed, to remain grounded when fortune rises or falls, to act according to values rather than emotions, to accept death without terror and life without illusion. Seneca did not promise happiness as pleasure. He promised freedom as strength, freedom from fear, freedom from compulsive desire, freedom from the need to be validated, freedom from panic when life changes. This is not an easy philosophy, it is a demanding one. But Seneca believed that a difficult philosophy creates a lighter life, while an easy philosophy creates a fragile one. If you are tired of being mentally reactive, emotionally exhausted, and controlled by circumstances, then Seneca's teachings are not just relevant, they are necessary. This is Stoicism in its original form, not motivational, not aesthetic, not passive, but disciplined, grounded, and unbreakable. If this depth of wisdom speaks to you and you want to continue building a mind that cannot be shaken by chaos, pressure, or uncertainty, then subscribe to Stoic Gateway, where ancient philosophy is forged into modern mental strength.